Welcome to another episode of BC Brew on Tap from Mahoney & Sons at Canada Place. Our guest is Rod Hughes, who is the head brewer of R&B Brewing. Rod, we talk on this show about the explosion of craft beer, primarily in the greater Vancouver area. But when you go back in time, R&B Brewing, of which you represent, you guys would have to be, I don't know, the granddaddies of the craft movement. Would you say that's fair?
We've been around since one of the original breweries, post-Prohibition.
So post-Prohibition.
Yeah.
So you 1997 is when you guys started. So again, if the landscape, if I remember correctly from talking to other guests on the show, there wasn't a whole lot around. And nobody back in 97 could foresee what is going on in 2016.
Yeah, it's definitely a different ballgame now. R&B was lucky to be there around the early days, offering people something different than the macro beers were offering at the time. And I think that really solidified them as part of the community.
I give a lot of credit to people that set down roots and invested in what seemed to be probably kind of a frivolous adventure back then, because you had a couple of the big players in the beer scene, and that was it. So if somebody came along and said, no, I'm going to kind of do something on a smaller scale, kind of do it more in the craft family, there's probably a lot of people shaking their head going, you're crazy. Why would you try and compete with the big people? And now look at where the scene is. And I know that you came from Ontario. That was where you grew up. So when you came to BC, what was your first impression when you looked at what was around on the beer landscape? Were you blown away?
I was absolutely blown away. I wasn't really into beer too much before I got here. But when I got here, I started drinking Fat Tug. I started drinking Central City's IPA. And I lived right down the street from Dan's Homebrewing. Got into homebrewing myself. Started getting into the Vancouver craft beer scene. And here I am today.
I think that's kind of interesting. You basically weren't really into beer at the time, and yet now it's almost like you got the keys to your parents' car. Like you're running the show as the head brewer at R&B, which again is one of the founders. So what was the turning point? What made you decide? Okay, not only do I enjoy this style of beer or these kinds of beers, I'm going to start brewing them myself, and eventually one day I'm going to be a head brewer.
Yeah, I mean, just started as a hobby. I have a chemistry background, so it kind of came natural to me. I just found it really exciting to mess around with different recipes and really research in depth the science behind it. I had a day job as a groundwater chemist at the time. Just kind of started fantasizing about brewing as a career. And
so it's funny that you should have a chemistry background, because even though we joke about this, there's a lot of science that goes into beer.
Absolutely.
Whether you're a home brewer, maybe not so much, but when you start to get the big operations behind those, there's a lot of stuff that you need to know.
Yeah, definitely. And even as a home brewer, you can really get into it, and that's what I really found fun about it. Homebrewing is a great hobby that you can do, kind of just very superficially and really make good beer, but you can really get into it and make great beer.
Now, when you make beer, especially when you've got a company which has the history of, say, R&B, are you allowed to pretty much have the run of the tanks and just go, okay, this is what I'm going to do? Is it dictated by the market? Is it dictated by the consumer? Is it dictated by the company mandate? Basically, or is it a collaboration of all of those kind of factors?
I'd say it's a collaboration between all the factors. You definitely have to have enough beer for your existing accounts. You want to keep everyone happy. And when there's room to make something new, everyone's got to agree on if it's the right path or not. I
always like asking brewers this, because do you take this stuff personally? Like if, for example, Rod, you sit and go, this is such a good beer, but it doesn't move. The market just doesn't take to it.
Totally.
You have to discontinue it. Does that offend you, or do you go, oh well, you live and learn?
It doesn't really offend me. I'm not saying I don't, take people's opinions seriously.
Right.
I do kind of, probably think about that a little too much.
Right.
But yeah, I wouldn't be offended by that at all. If it's not moving, we've got to sell beer, and
it's time for something else.
Happen, yeah.
Okay, now you're located in the Brewery Creek area of Vancouver, and what I like about R&B is that you've got some very, very Vancouver-specific beers. For example, your Vancouver Special IPA. if you didn't live in Vancouver in the era, you probably don't know what a Vancouver Special is. I grew up in one. I totally know what one is. And then you've got one like the Dude Chillin'. This is the new beer to you.
Yes.
So, and this is based out on Dude Chillin' Park in East Van.
Absolutely, yeah. So
where do those ideas come from?
So the Vancouver Special was named by Dave Fenn, our owner. He just thought it'd be great, like to tie in the neighborhood with the names of our beers.
Which is a very, very Vancouver-specific beer.
Absolutely.
People probably in other provinces in Canada don't even know what a Vancouver Special is. Google it, check it out. You'll know exactly what I mean. And Dude Chillin'. This is there's a Dude Chillin' Park in Vancouver. How did that idea come about?
So I've had this recipe for a pale ale that I've just been waiting to bring to R&B, and with the opening of our ale and pizza house, it felt like the right time. It felt like it would fit well in our lineup. The name actually came from my wife. She kind of gave me that name, and I thought it was great. It's a park that we hang out with. My wife and I hang out in, as well as the brewers and I after work. It's really close to our brewery. And it's got a good story behind it. So.
Well, if you've ever been to Dude Chillin' Park, I would imagine you'd sell a few bottles of that. Have you actually done any test marketing in Dude Chillin' Park? Hey, people, try this out?
Not yet. We
No?
did bring a couple growlers there. I mean,
and you mentioned quickly. You mentioned the pizza and ale house, and I'm hearing good things about pizzas there. I've had one.
Absolutely.
I can speak to that.
yeah,
And there's great pizza, and as well there's a great variety of beers.
absolutely. Yeah, the Ale and Pizza House is doing really well right now. We're really excited about it. We think it's a really good room to hang out in.
Took a while to get going, but it's finally up and running. That's all good.
It did, yeah.
Okay. Always a pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Jeff. Cheers.
There is more BC Brew on Tap coming up.